Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
Today's video is about how to shoot a YouTube video when you haven't been getting along all day.
Let's have an honest moment. We fought this morning.
We didn't fight. We had a constructive conversation and you just got angry.
We fought over lunch. We did fight over lunch.
Well, I just feel like I'm showing up 100% and you're showing up
75.
115%.
Well, regardless of our fighting, you look very pretty
Love
today.
covers a multitude of sins. Love covers a multitude of sins. Thank you.
On an all serious note, today has been
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster.
a
for
heavy
us.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know it when looking back, you're
Mhm.
like, so many things are changing. There's a lot of transitions happening.
And the world is falling apart
And-
a little bit.
True. But anytime you're in seasons of transitions, I feel like things can get sticky. Things are being kind of uprooted and moved or thrown away or planted. And it's just...
Or thrown.
Or yelled at.
That is not true. Let's take a moment to acknowledge that I have not yelled at you one time today. I don't yell. Caleb's always like, why are you mad at me? I'm like, I'm not mad. I just
Yeah. Anyways.
sharing my feelings.
Do we want to talk about today's video?
We do want to talk about today's video. We do, indeed.
What was the title of it again?
Are we ready
Are we ready
to
for
get
marriage?
married?
Are
Are
we
we
ready?
ready to get married?
In all seriousness,
Not
hi, welcome back to our YouTube channel. We are what?
Go ahead. I was mimicking your hand.
Oh,
We are
you look like you have a dinosaur hand.
we are a
Engaged couple,
living in Los Angeles,
planning a marriage,
living in a garage,
planning a wedding,
planning our lives.
and completely lost.
We're not. He thinks he's lost all the time. It's not true. When you are lost, then you are found.
But today is a special video because I actually, and Kara can speak for herself, obviously, the question that I actually want to talk about this, because we're not relationship experts, we're not relationship coaches, we're just in a relationship and kind of talking about our relationships, but we are engaged for the first time at the age of 35. So as you can imagine, or maybe not, but for me, and for Kara, there have been a lot of unsuccessful relationships before this one. And I remember after my last girlfriend, before meeting Kara, I was on a podcast doing an interview with somebody who is a relationship expert and has done a lot of work in the relationship field. And he was telling me his story. And he asked me a question that changed everything for me.
It's a really good question.
It's a really good question, and I think we both really heavily agree on it. And we want to give you guys this question. And so if you are dating someone and you're asking, is he or she the one? How do you know if he or she the one? And obviously there are so many different variables. I feel like I'm always the one talking.
Well, you
I
went
understand.
for it,
Let
and
me
I
finish
love
this
it.
sentence and then you can go.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you.
There are so many variables at play when you're trying to determine is he or she the one. I don't even know if that's something I truly believe in. There is this question though that this man asked me that I wish I knew, or I wish I had the courage to ask myself earlier on in my own dating journey. I was having a conversation with this guy and he was telling me about this time that he was in a relationship and he was actually engaged to this woman, and it was, I think, the day of his wedding or leading up to the day of his wedding, he started to realize that, oh my God, I don't think I'm supposed to marry her. And so he goes to his closest people in his life, he talks to his family, talks to his friends, and they're like, oh, this is just pre-wedding jitters, just push through this, get through this, everything is good. And he wanted to believe that. He just couldn't really accept what he was feeling in his own heart.
You're
And
still
so
feeling hesitation.
very much hesitation. And he's telling me this story because I'm like kind of interested on how or where it's going. And so he says, I jumped on a chat room. I'm like, that's where wisdom lives, a chat room.
In the chat room.
And so he got on a chat room, and sure enough, a woman basically asks him 2 questions about determining if he or she is the one. And I'm only going to use one of them because that's the one that really impacted me. Because at this time, he's telling me this story, I'm dating a girl who maybe could be the one, right? And I'm just kind of going back and forth because we're having so much trouble. We're not really connecting, but we are connecting. And, all those questions we have around relationships, right? Like, do we have to work really, really hard at this? Is it hard because it's right? Do we push through or do we let go? So much gray area. And this question that he asked me, immediately my heart was like, oh, I know she's not the one. But then subsequently, when I started dating you and I started having the process around marriage and we fell in love so quickly, I asked myself that same question. I was going through some of an old journal and I found that question, and immediately up in my heart, it was like, yes.
Yeah.
I answered that question. And I knew Kara was the one that I wanted to marry, right? And the question is there somebody that can love her better? Or is there somebody that can love him better? And that's a really hard question. And to answer that question, you have to be really, really honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Is there somebody that can love her better? And at that time, when he asked that question, he knew that there was somebody that could love his, at the time, current fiance better than him. And so to stay in that relationship would actually be selfish of him, and it would be limiting him from actually experiencing true and big love here on this earth, and also limiting her from experiencing the depth of love that is possible for her. So to stay in that relationship would be actually very, very selfish. And when he asked me that, and at that time I was dating somebody, and I knew that there was somebody out there that could love her better than me, and I needed to let her go. And so yeah, that's the question that if you are wanting to go a little deeper in your relationship and you're asking, is he or she the one? This is a question that I think can point you in the right direction.
It's also a phenomenal question. I'll speak for me being a woman, as a woman, to ask this question, because I think as women, we would think, and maybe as men too, we would think it's more selfish to leave my fiance, or it's more selfish to get out of the relationship. Like it's more of a courageous thing to actually
fight through.
No, it's more of a courageous thing to say, gosh, I'm kind of being selfish if I know there is someone out there who can love them better. Like if there's somebody else that could love him better, I would want that for him, because that is the definition of love, right? Like a selflessness that says, I want what is absolutely best for you, even if it isn't me. And I think we have both come to the conclusion that what is best is each other. But I think sometimes, for me at least, in past relationships, I would just wrestle in my mind like, oh, could he be the one? Could I convince myself that he's the one? Maybe he's the one. He has a lot of great qualities. So maybe because he checks off these 7 things on my checklist, that means he could be the one, instead of actually trusting this inner knowing. And that's what I'll say with me in terms of like my understanding of knowing that I'm ready for marriage is that with Caleb, I never had an instant of doubt around him being the one.
I wouldn't either.
You didn't have it?
About me.
Oh. Wow. Really humble, you guys. He's the most humble man I know. Well. We're not fighting anymore. No, but I never had a doubt about him being the one. And I mean that from like a gut place, like an intuition place. And when I met him, we've shared this a little bit, but when I met him, I actually didn't tell anybody for a little bit because I'm so used to going to all my girlfriends and like processing like, do you think he could be the one? Do you think he could be the one? And looking for external validation of whether or not he was the one. But I had this deep inner knowing when I met him, and that has really guided us and laid this foundation of falling in love. And I think when we ask that question of like, is there anybody that can love you better? Probably not. There's probably not anybody that can love you better.
And it very much is a knowing. And
yeah.
I think it is important to note that obviously this is our journey.
This is our story.
This is our story.
This is not prescriptive. None of our YouTube channel will ever be prescriptive. We will never tell you how to do your life.
I do think that there is a journey into the process of learning how to tune into your knowing and trust your knowing too, right? That requires a lot of inner healing because so much of life has lied to us. It's betrayed us. It's neglected us. It's abandoned us. So much of our experiences in life is very much that.
And has told us not to trust ourselves.
And it has told us not to trust ourselves. And so a lot of the spiritual journey is coming back home to ourselves, learning how to tune in to that still small voice guiding our lives into the knowing and into the life that we were designed for, or more aligned, I would say, that can create more fulfillment and happiness. But it requires a lot of risk, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of discomfort. And so there is, I think, a process leading up into actually feeling, honoring, and validating that knowing inside of each and every one of us. Because we all have it, but oftentimes knowing is leading us into the areas of our life where it's very unpredictable and uncertain. And that's where it creates a lot of havoc if you don't know how to sit in the unknowing, which requires a lot of healing. I'm done talking.
Caleb has a lot of words today.
I always have a lot of words.
I know. Sometimes when we have like people over, I'm like, you're so quiet. But it's like, I just read this quote. Actually, you will love this. I read this quote the other day that said, quiet people are incredibly talkative around the right people.
That's me for sure.
Yeah. So you get you around the right people and the words flow like a river.
You know what that means, guys? You're the right people. Anyways,
thank you for watching.
Yeah, but if there's a question that you ask yourself or have been asked and choosing the one, let us know. I would love to hear that, because I think questions, like one of my favorite quotes are answers. Like, we're all looking for answers in life, right? But answers are closed doors, and questions are what invite us in. Questions invite us into a journey, and that's the magic of life. It's in the journey. So if there's a question that has defined your relationship life or your life in general, please leave it in the comments. That would be amazing. And if you're watching this and this has made you laugh and feel kind of better about yourself and you don't even know it, go ahead and click subscribe. That would mean so much to us.
We will see you guys next time.
Talk to you soon.